A lot of you want to know what it's like in Washington, so we're going to jump into the big leagues now. So you show up there, you're a freshman, or you're kind of a junior congressman. And
Yep.
This is DeLay the guy.
He was still the majority leader.
And then Boehner became the majority leader after that.
Minority leader, unfortunately.
Minority leader. That's right,
Yeah,
because it was the Iraq War. What was the thing that got you noticed? I mean, because the next decade you're on the House Intel Committee, you became chairman of the Ag Committee. What was it that propelled you up that ladder, that steeper ladder than most congressmen have?
I think I don't brag easily. Most politicians do.
You can brag. This is your exit interview.
Yeah, I know. I'm not comfortable. I think hard work, sweat equity, being someone who knowledge is king in every business.
Right.
No more so in the House. So if somebody asks you a question, if you know the answer to that question and it's the right answer, then they're more likely to come back to you and ask questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing what's going on, understanding what's happening, being as current as you possibly can on whatever it is that's happening on the floor and all those kind of things, so that when people say, hey, what about this and that, they begin to rely on you.
Right.
They depend on
Right.
you. They can say that. Also establishing the idea that I don't make knee-jerk decisions. I study an issue as hard as they possibly can within the time frame you've got, because eventually you got to vote.
Right.
And being that kind of a member. I wanted on Armed Services and Ag. I got on both those committees. They put me on budget. Turns out it was a great learning experience because you're exposed to an awful lot of things that are going on. Because I was one of the few CPAs in Congress, they put me on the NRCC, the National Republican Congressional Committee. They put me in charge of the Audit Committee.
Yeah, so the accountant is auditing the NRCC.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm in the Audit Committee, and I found that the Chief Financial Officer was stealing from the NRCC.
How was it hidden?
It was an amazing fraud. When I got there, I said, all right, I need to meet with the accountants, the outside accountants, the auditors,
right?
And I need to meet with them. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Mm-hmm. Well, members come and go. We kept putting it off, and we'd have it set. They had to cancel, and I finally got frustrated. I said, look, you get those guys in here this Monday afternoon, period.
Right.
And so I show up, and a half hour earlier, he had resigned and confessed.
This is the finance guy.
The finance guy.
Right.
That we didn't have any outside auditors. He had been not only cooking the books, he had been cooking the audit report. And,
wow.
And I read through the audit report, and it was on its face there. So I called the firm that he used their name. And I said, I need to talk to the partner in charge of the audit for the NRCC. And the guy says, we don't audit the NRCC. And I said, yes, you do. I've got your audit opinion. I'm a former auditor as well, and I know what a big deal this is. And he goes, well, can you send it to me? I said, sure. So we faxed it over to him.
Back then,
fax over. Yeah. And he called me right back and said, Mike, we've never had letterhead look like that.
Wow.
So this guy had filed 5 years worth of fraudulent financial statements with the bank, which is a federal crime, because we've always had a loan, a revolving line there.
Right.
He filed a fifth one the day I caught him, which was kind of weird. Mm-hmm. But at any rate, by insisting on having a standard classic, every audit committee out there always meets with the audit committee. I wasn't anything unique about my deal. I just happened to be the guy that knew enough to say, hey, we need to have these guys come in. And that got me on the notice for my colleagues and the folks in the district.
You're a steady guy, and you can find stuff.
And obviously,
because I mean, just to be honest with you, Mike, being an accountant sounds boring as heck. But I mean, that's a way to leverage what you know.
Well, that's right. It's we do have an eclectic sense of humor. Right. I tell most of my audiences that I'll try to crack a joke and it won't work.
Right.
And I'll tell them, look, folks, I'm a CPA. That's as funny as I'm gonna get. So you're gonna have to laugh at that way. But no, that got me noticed, separated me from the rest of the freshman class or sophomore class at that point in time, because I had done something. Because we're all over there trying to raise money for the NRCC to go into races, not to go into some guy's pocket. Mm-hmm. And so it got everybody's attention.
In the 2000s, August Pfluger and I were both in the Air Force.
Yep.
All right, and we were both doing our thing, our duty, and the big thing that got me back in 2004, 2005 was kind of this shift in the narrative from the Democrats from supporting the Iraq War to saying things like Bush lied, people died. And what that felt is, down there, it's like, I got friends down here getting hurt, getting killed or getting maimed.
Right.
Maimed was a big thing, and I felt like they turned on us.
They did.
And what did you see in Congress during all this? I mean, was it like a really deliberate means to be dishonest about the war?
Absolutely. So I get to in 05. Iraq War, the Afghan War had begun to settle out, but the Iraq War had really, kicked in. We're in the majority. Tom DeLay is the majority leader, and so the Texas delegation would meet every Thursday at lunch. We still do, and Tom would come in and he'd have all the inside skinny as what's going on. So that kept us more apprised of what was happening. But it was clear that that after President Bush won his second term, that the Democrats were going to build that narrative for his replacement. Whatever he was going to take over in 09, it was going to be an anti-war kind of circumstances, and they've kept that up for the most part. They're when it's Veterans Day like it is today, and by the way, I don't know if this will air today, but thanks to all those veterans out there, thanks to your families as well, because families serve alongside, and
especially the wives,
and
the husbands,
and spouses. But the spouses, when you're downrange, you know what's going on. Sometimes it's sporting, sometimes it's not. Most of the time it's pretty boring. The family members, every day, every second, their loved ones in harm's way. And so thank you for what you do to let your men and women serve in our nation. And thank the members as well. But the families bear, I think, a bigger burden than the men and women.
When I was promoted to major, I was ordered to buy my wife a dozen roses. So that's the tradition.
I got you.
That was the tradition.
I like it.
But anyway.
It began to turn, and I think the narrative was just, they were trying to separate themselves from Republicans, and it didn't get as bad as the Vietnam War, when the Democrats did the exact same thing there and promoted that dark black chapter in our nation's history where mostly men would come home from Vietnam and be spit on and castigated, those kind of things. They never did go that far. They still would honor the men and women that came back, but they had a hard time distinguishing between criticizing what was going on and who was doing it.
Right.
And I think the men and women in uniform felt it was not honest. It was disingenuous to say, I like you, I like what you're doing, and I don't support what you're doing. Wait a minute, my life's on the line. I need you to, anyway. So that began going that forward. The other thing that was not happening in 05, 6, 7, 8, 9, social media did not dominate the world the way it does today.
You had blogs.
You had blogs, and a few people might have known what that was. I had the internet a little bit, but certainly Facebook, Twitter, and all these other platforms didn't have the kind of strength and power.
Well, Facebook was still kind of confined to college campuses.
Yeah.
And Twitter, I don't think existed yet.
That's right.
And we didn't get iPhones until 07, I believe. So
I'm going through archived pictures of some of my early campaign pictures, and it
have a
shows
flip
me
phone?
my backyard. No, I've got a handset from a wireless handset. I didn't even have a cell phone. And that was 05, 04, I guess, when I took those pictures. But yeah, it wasn't as mean-spirited as it currently is. It wasn't as cutthroat as it currently is.